Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have two stories for you, both with updates from the Am I the Butthole subreddit. The Karma Stories podcast is published to all major podcasting platforms, and you can also read along on YouTube under our @Karma Stories podcast handle. If you have a story you'd like to submit to the podcast, you can do so by email at karmastoriespod@gmail.com. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's start the drama. This story with updates comes to us from No Patience 900. Am I the butthole for cutting off my daughter's college fund after she chose her deadbeat bio mom? I am a single dad to my 18-year-old daughter Emma. Her bio mom left us when she was young, and I've raised her with the help of my wife, who has been a wonderful mother figure. Recently, Emma started reconnecting with her bio mom, and I initially supported this, hoping it would be a positive experience. However, it quickly became apparent that her bio mom hadn't changed. Emma began making excuses for her and started exhibiting increasingly hostile behavior towards my wife. She would say things like, "Maybe I'll just move in with my mom and leave you both behind," and "You're not my real mom anyway, so what do you care?" It escalated to threats where she implied she would ruin our lives if we tried to stop her from pursuing this relationship. During a heated argument, Emma expressed her desire to move in with her bio mom. This was a breaking point for me. Feeling that I needed to set boundaries, I decided to cut off her college fund and told her she had to leave our home. Since then, my family has been vocal about their disapproval. They believe I should have been more understanding and that I overreacted. Some even argue that I'm pushing her further away and harming our relationship permanently. They think I should have tried harder to support her rather than resorting to such drastic measures. Am I the butthole for taking this step, or was I justified in cutting her off? Now, OP has added 3 updates to this one. 2 of them are on the original post, and the third one is its own separate post. Let's get into update 1 now. It says, "Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect to have an update so quickly, but a lot has happened in just the past few hours. About 5 hours after I posted, I got a message from Emma asking if we could meet up. She suggested a nearby coffee shop, and although I was unsure of what to expect, I agreed to meet her. When I arrived, I could tell right away that something was different. Emma looked exhausted and stressed, not at all like the confident person who left our home. She told me that her time with her bio mom had been a disaster. Not only had her mom treated her coldly, but she also demanded an exorbitant amount of money for rent, far more than Emma could afford. It became clear to Emma that her mom wasn't interested in having a real relationship with her, just in using her for financial gain. Emma was visibly upset as she apologized for the way she had treated me and my wife. She admitted that she'd made a huge mistake and asked if she could come back home. It was obvious she was genuinely remorseful, and she said she realized how much we had done for her. I told her that I'm willing to work on rebuilding our relationship, but it's going to take time and effort on both sides. We discussed setting some boundaries and working through the issues that led to all of this in the first place. She agreed, and we left the coffee shop with a plan to move forward, one step at a time. It's not going to be an easy road, but I'm hopeful that we can heal from this and come out stronger on the other side. I'm still processing everything, but I'm relieved that Emma wants to make things right." Alright, OP's second update, also at the bottom of the original post, says, "Hey everyone, I've got another update, and things have gotten even more intense since my last post. A day after Emma and I reconciled, her bio mom showed up at our house. I didn't expect her to come here, but she was furious, screaming about how I had taken her daughter away, and how I was trying to turn Emma against her. She was completely out of control, and it quickly became clear that she wasn't going to leave peacefully. I tried to calm her down, but nothing worked, so I had no choice but to call the cops. When the police arrived, Emma was visibly shaken. As they escorted her mom away, Emma asked me to press charges. She was done with her mom's manipulations and wanted to protect herself from any further harm. While we were dealing with the fallout, Emma mentioned that her bio mom had access to her credit card. We decided to check her account, And that's when we discovered something shocking. Her mom had taken out $10,000 without Emma's knowledge. We were both stunned and heartbroken. After reporting the theft to the police, we started doing some digging of our own. We found out that Emma's bio mom was drowning in debt. She'd been using Emma as a financial lifeline, which explained the outrageous demands for rent and the recent theft. She was desperate and willing to do anything to get her hands on more money. We provided all the evidence to the police, and they're now investigating her for fraud. Emma is devastated but also relieved that the truth is coming to light. We're working with the bank to try and recover the stolen money, and I've hired a lawyer to help us navigate the legal process. The whole situation has been incredibly tough on Emma, but she's been strong through it all. We're focusing on moving forward and rebuilding trust. I'm grateful that she came back home when she did, because who knows how much worse things could have gotten if she'd stayed with her mom any longer. It's going to take time to heal from all of this, but we're on the right path now. Emma knows she has our full support, and we're committed to helping her get through this. I'm just glad we caught on to what was happening before it was too late. There were only a couple of comments on the original post, so we're not going to go into those, but we're going to jump right into the third update that is in its own separate post. This one is titled, "Am I the butthole for cutting off my daughter's college fund after she chose her deadbeat bio mom? Update 3. Hey everyone, I've got another update, and this one has been extremely difficult for our family. After we pressed charges and discovered the theft of $10,000 from Emma's credit card, her bio mom started harassing us non-stop. It started with constant phone calls and text messages, both to me and Emma, begging, demanding, and threatening us to drop the lawsuit. She even began showing up at our workplaces. At my office, she caused a scene, screaming at the receptionist to let her in, calling me a thief, and claiming I was ruining her life. Emma's job wasn't spared either. Her bio mom went there too, embarrassing her in front of her coworkers, and even threatening to expose personal details about our family if we didn't drop the charges. We tried to block her out, but things came to a head when she showed up at our house again. This time, she was even more out of control. She started screaming and calling my wife all kinds of vile names, including a nasty W, claiming she had stolen Emma from her. We tried to get her to leave, but she refused. And then it happened. She physically attacked my wife. Emma and I were in complete shock. My wife was just trying to defend herself, but her bio mom kept coming at her. Seeing my wife terrified and hurt was my breaking point. I immediately called the cops. When the police arrived, they arrested her for assault. My wife is now traumatized from the incident. She's been struggling with anxiety and can't sleep well, knowing that she was physically attacked in her own home. She's seeing a therapist to try and deal with the emotional scars left from this nightmare. Emma is devastated too. She never imagined her bio mom would go this far, and seeing her attack my wife has left her shaken. We're doing everything we can to support each other, but the impact has been immense. Now, with her bio mom in custody and facing multiple charges, including assault and harassment, we're hoping we can finally find some peace. It's hard to believe how far this situation has escalated, but I'm glad that, at least for now, we're safe from further harassment. We'll be taking legal steps to ensure a restraining order is in place moving forward. This has been a painful chapter for my family, but we're determined to get through it together. Thank you again for all your support during this time. It's been a lifeline for us." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have a whole bunch of people that say that OP is a butthole for not defending their wife. Here's a couple of them. One says, "You are the butthole for not defending your wife. You are a failure of a husband." Another one says, "You didn't defend your wife? That's pathetic." Another one says, "When the nut attacked your wife, why did you not retaliate? You wouldn't have been charged. My guess is your wife is saying the right things, but is disappointed you didn't save her. Now, if something was left out, it may change my response." If there's one thing I've learned about Reddit comments over the years, it's that people in there are very quick to jump to conclusions, even when we don't have all the information we need to make that conclusion. It's very easy to sit back and critique someone's actions after the fact, but being in that high-stress real-life situation is entirely different. There are so many factors at play: shock, fear, and the immediate need to ensure everyone's safety. OP did call the cops right away, and we don't know if they were pulled off or not because we don't have that info. Alright, putting that aside, the best thing that can happen right now for OP and their family is therapy and supporting each other, because you need the support of your loved ones to get through a crappy situation like this. Also, an abundance of cookies, because cookies solves everything. This story with update comes to us from Kathleen70. Am I the butthole for showing my friend how to set a timer on his son's computer to make him get off it by a certain time, making his son be angry at me? This happened 2 weeks ago, and honestly, I do think I am the butthole for showing him how to do it and making his son really ticked off at me. I, 55 female, have a friend, 35 male, who has a 10-year-old son. For the past month on weekends, his son has been going beyond his 9 p.m. curfew for getting off of the computer and getting ready for bed by 10 p.m. He would usually stay on until midnight, and in the middle of the night, my friend would hear his son's computer turn on around 3 a.m. I went over to bring him some boxes since he and his son are moving to a new apartment in a new city in 3 weeks. While we were sitting down, drinking coffee, and chatting about the joys of moving, he mentioned how grateful he was for his paid vacation and unused PTO. Eventually, he brought up his son staying up past his curfew on the weekends and sneaking back onto the computer in the middle of the night. I made an offhand suggestion about setting a timer for the computer to turn off. He looked at me like I'd grown 2 heads and asked, "Is that even possible?" I told him, yeah, just look it up on the computer. So we Googled how to do it. He had no idea this feature existed. While searching, he also discovered you could set a timer for the computer to turn on, which I didn't even know was possible until we found instructions. We set up his son's computer to shut down at 9 p.m. and turn back on at 6 a.m. My friend was really proud of himself for figuring it out. I told him that his son would eventually get used to these boundaries. I also suggested to explain to his son that his actions had consequences, which led to this new rule. If he didn't stick to the 9 p.m. curfew, the computer would automatically shut down. That night, I got a call from my friend. His son was furious. I could hear the kid screaming in the background, calling him a bad father and threatening to report him to the school. I told my friend, the school isn't going to do anything besides maybe ask what happened. You could even drop your son off and have a chat with the principal just in case, so they're aware of the situation. That way, if your son tries to stir up trouble, the school will already know the full story. This isn't unusual. Public library and school computers have similar shutdown rules. My friend then asked if we did the right thing. I reassured him that we had. His son needs to learn to manage his time on the computer, just like he does at the library, where the computers automatically shut down at 4:45 p.m. on Saturdays. For the past 2 weeks, his son has been constantly yelling at him, blaming me for ruining his computer time. I feel like a butthole because it seems like I robbed his son of the chance to take responsibility for his own screen time. But at the same time, my friend asked for advice and I gave it. He ultimately made the decision. Before we get to the update, let's go through a couple of comments. The first one's from Agnar Krakenhammer and it says, "Not the butthole. Child is throwing a childish tantrum. Dealing with them is part of being a parent." OP responded to this one and said, "That's what I told my friend, but he feels like he's also the butthole." I told him, "You told him there will be consequences, and now he has it. He'll get used to it." Another commenter down below called Pumpkin Powerful 3292 said, "Not the butthole. Children need structure and boundaries. This is no different than having a bedtime set at 9 p.m. to have them turn off the TV and go to bed. So the kid threatening to report the parent to his school for parenting is nonsense. The school will probably laugh at him. I know I would if he complained about this." OP responded to this and said, his school has already been informed about it the next day for the new timer on the computer. The principal thinks that this is a genius idea to enforce curfew for the kid since this kid has been in trouble with falling asleep in class. He actually asked how you do it, and my friend told him that he and his best friend Googled it and set it up. He told me that the principal is putting it in the monthly school newsletter that is sent out to all the parents. He said this might help the parents keep the kids from becoming too obsessed about being online all the time. Well, there you go, OP. I'm not quite sure that's exactly what you wanted in the first place, but now you're gonna have a legion of 10-year-olds that know that it was you who started this. Good luck with that. Like, your house just became the primary target for eggs and toilet paper at Halloween? Have fun cleaning that up. Alright, OP's update states, update, this morning I showed my friend this thread over breakfast, and he wanted me to thank everyone for their comments. Since I posted, he's moved into his new apartment in the city. He told his son that actions have consequences. My friend admitted he'd been a bit lax with punishments in the past, as he was working 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads. However, last month he received a raise and a bonus, which allowed him to quit his second job and focus more on his son. Being the sole parental figure, he realizes he wasn't as strict as he could have been, and this thread helped him address those concerns, particularly about his son's sleep schedule. Now his son has adjusted to the computer timer and even admitted he was getting too attached to gaming. My friend was impressed by how open his son was about recognizing this issue. They had a long conversation, and his son has come to accept the timer. My friend no longer doubts whether he made the right decision. He's learning and growing, and he appreciates everyone's feedback, even from those who called him a bad dad. Jumping down to the comment section again on this one, we have one from a user called Becoming Maxine. It says, not the butthole. Why would you consider yourself the butthole for sharing parenting tips? We parents do that all the time. By the way, did you tell your friend what he did on the computer can be done for the TV and other electronic devices? Have you shared with him how to lock down his router and change the password? That one is the favorite I pull out and share all the time. Your kid doesn't want to do chores? Cut off the internet. OP responded to this one and said, his son is mainly fixated on the computer, so the TV is his domain. I will suggest to him about the router and changing the password on it weekly to throw the kid off at times. His son does do chores, it's just when he gets on his computer, nothing will take him off. Till I showed his dad how to turn the computer off at a certain time. Alright, the way I'm looking at this one was that OP's friend knew that their kid was getting up at 3 a.m. and getting on the computer because they could hear them. So if they heard them and they were awake at that same time, why weren't they going in and shutting that down right away? Or, why was the computer still in the kid's bedroom? I have to agree with every one of the commenters. OP is not the butthole in this situation. They were just giving out parenting tips that it sounds like their friend really needed. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.